have to.
I'll have to give her some money.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 16th meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of all the exits around the room in case of emergency.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We have one.
And now join us as we salute the American flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First, just a note for the record that both our vice chairs, Ms. Dexter and Mr. Groninger, are away for the evening, so we're down to 5. The first item on the agenda is the Hyde Park Town Center North, which colloquially we know as a site plan approval for Mavis tire repair. May I get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we received a letter today from their attorney, Mr. Alexander, requesting that we take any public comment, and then adjourn to December 7th. In the meantime, I'd just like to say that the applicants had also done this at the last public hearing. In the interim, they had a slightly modified design and showed it to a couple of individuals without submitting it formally because they didn't want to spend the money on engineering it. And then I met with the applicants yesterday and talked to them. I think that we're going to be seeing next a project that they're working on that will mitigate potential impacts. That's what they'd like us to evaluate. The 8 impacts or potentially moderate to large impacts we identified. They're working on a project that would modify or mitigate those in advance through changes. So we'll be seeing that, I hope, sometime in the next week and a half before our December 7th meeting. In the meantime, are there any comments from the public? Any comments from the consultants? Any comments from the board? Make it a motion to adjourn this to December 7th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second public hearing is a new public hearing on a new bed and breakfast proposed at 4331 Albany Post Road, which is the, as I was told earlier, the old greenhouse next to Hyde Park Elementary, as it's called. May I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Tierms is here representing the applicant. Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you.
You have the mic.
Okay, I forgot the plans tonight, but Mr. Berry wants to, demolish the existing house at 4331 Albany Post Road and replace it with a 5-bed bed and breakfast. Use the existing entrance, add some landscaping, put in a new septic system. Simple project, just a new structure in the village.
And at our workshop, I believe you heard nothing but favorable comments from the board, particularly as to the architecture because it retains a nice historic feel to the existing structure. It is larger, so in the interim, for the interest of the public or those who might be watching on television, we discovered that a B&B is defined in our code as being 1 to 4 bedrooms. Mr. Berry would like a 5th bedroom so he can live there and be profitable. Unfortunately, the board cannot waive that requirement because it's in the definitions, which means it requires an area variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Beyond that, there are also area variances needed for the front and side yard setbacks. The building, I believe the house that was there when it was constructed predates all zoning ordinances, so it existed before we even had front and side yard setbacks. However, we prepared a letter tonight that the board will discuss shortly where we recommend that the ZBA grant the variances. There are 2 other variances that are required. One would be there's a requirement for a 100-foot open space buffer along the boundary with Hyde Park Elementary. The reason for that is because Hyde Park Elementary is on the National Historic Registry. Another section of code that also deals with new construction adjacent to historic resource parcels states that the cubic volume can't be more than 60,000 square feet.
It is less than 60,000 square feet.
Woohoo, good.
I have all the calculations. I haven't sent them in.
59,999?
It's actually in the 40,000s. It doesn't even hit 50,000. So I did that calculation, and the volume is below 60,000.
The letter I prepared that
including the attic, the basement, everything.
Is that on the new plans you're going to submit?
Yes, I haven't, with all the comments, I'll resubmit the plans and I'll make that statement on there. I'll add that calculation or somehow in there.
Yeah, to the chart would be fine.
microphone.
Okay.
I was asking him to please add that calculation to the dimensional chart.
So the letter I prepared, I can adjust to take out the cubic volume variance, but I wrote it such that if one was required, it should be. And if you've seen the copy, I'll want to state for the record, since my letter or our letter won't be read into the record, the purpose for the open space buffer and for the cubic volume restriction is so that if you have some historic structures and there was going to be a big massive building like a shopping plaza next to it, you don't want to have those overwhelm the historic resource. But in this case, the building that you're proposing is pretty small, and Hyde Park Elementary is pretty big. So to me, the 100-foot open space buffer isn't really required. In addition, the house sits pretty close to Route 9, and there's a long driveway that goes into Hyde Park Elementary. That driveway forms a circle, and there's a big green space that's landscaped with an American flagpole in the center of it. So there's actually a lot of green space already buffering between the building and between the Hyde Park L building and your structure. But the way our code reads, it's just the boundary of the property. So I think that based on the unique circumstances of this property, that both should be waived, although you don't need the cubic volume one, as it turns out. So I wish you luck at the ZBA. I know you've already submitted your application there.
So just edit it and send it back in?
We'll edit the letter and then send it back over to the ZBA, assuming I get permission from my board.
And you need to edit your ZBA application accordingly.
I don't think he didn't apply for the cubic volume variation, did you? Variance?
Didn't, but I
No.
don't think he applied for the open space buffer.
What is it, 100 feet? How is that measured?
It's supposed to be 100 feet of open linear space along the entire boundary of your property and
Oh.
theirs,
Okay.
which is not possible for you to have the house built. I mean, it would be 6 foot wide. It'd be 6 foot wide otherwise. So I think that there's a practical,
Tiny house,
yeah, a long skinny shotgun B&B.
HGTV.
There's a practical reason why that couldn't be enforced either. So that is something is that a standard we can relax, or is that something that has to be an area variance? That's what I thought is an area variance, right? It's in the
So I'll
book.
just redo the application and then just resend it in.
I think you can amend it, not so much redo it, right? Because we don't want to start the clock for the ZBA.
I would amend it.
Otherwise, I know we don't have new materials from you. There are a few issues we discussed last time. All of those that we mentioned, just some minor errors, like not having the right zoning district after we went back and forth on that. They were addressed in Ms. Axelson's comments. You'll just need to address those before we can close this up and move forward. But of course, we can't close this up and move forward until you have your variances from the ZBA.
Yes, and I'm working on the SHPO requirement also.
Yeah, so I just was told yesterday that the CRIS system was down for 3 months. Did you know this? Am I
didn't know
wrong?
it.
So do you think, I was told you thought there might be delay by going to the State Historic Preservation Officer. Is there a reason why you think that?
I filled out everything on Chris and sent it in. They said
Okay.
they gave me an ID number,
Right.
and they said they received the project, and
Okay.
so it seemed to work when I used it.
Ms. Polidoro, is there, when we refer to SHPO, is this like referring to any agency? They have 30 days in which to respond?
They have 30 days in which to respond to a
Or lead agency request?
They're not bound by 30 days on this, although they have their own internal review guidelines. And lately, they've been much faster.
They've been much
Yeah.
quicker. The reason why I mention this is, in years past, many times, we would receive a response from the State Historic Preservation Office, Ruth Pierpont, a year after we approved. So, and nothing ever happened, but I'm just saying, I don't want to hold this up based on that. So, I know Commissioner Harvey personally. If you have a delay, contact me, and I'll be happy to call Rose, see if we can get something moving more quickly.
By the time he gets through the variance process,
We better revert back from SHPO, okay. Okay. Well, we wrote a letter, or I wrote a letter that will be coming from the board that I think strongly advocates to get the variances, because you really do have limitations based on the width of the parcel, and I can't imagine anybody in Hyde Park doesn't want to see this turn from a derelict building into a thriving B&B, and particularly when it's going to be as attractive as the architecture that you've designed is. So let me start to my left with consultants. Pete, Victoria, any comments?
No, we're just waiting for the revised plans that would address the October 21st comment, so. we'll
That's
work
great.
on it.
Thank you. Mr. Napoli?
None at this time.
Mr. Oliver?
No comment.
Mr. Murphy, no. Ms. Kane? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak about this application? There being none, when would you like us to adjourn this to? We had thought January 4th to give you time to go through the Zoning Board of Appeals. I mean, we're not hearing public comments, so
Whenever you can get your paperwork.
just, yeah, to save.
January 4th works well.
Okay, the reason I say this is to save your client money. Instead of us opening and closing and having consultants' time, et cetera, it's cheaper to just wait a little bit longer. Is January 4th sufficient time to get through the Zoning Board of Appeals, do you think? I don't know when he started.
I'm on the November 30th
Agenda?
agenda.
And you're going to amend the application so that they'll be reviewing the request for the 100-foot open space buffer as well.
Can we get them on early?
So they would have to still have two meetings? This is the first meeting?
It requires public comment. The second meeting will be public comment, public hearing, so.
Right, so the first meeting, they'll type the action and workshop, but then the second meeting, they'll set the public hearing. The second meeting would have public hearing, would have public comment, and they could close and then resolve it that night. So if they do, that means the January 4th meeting, we would be free to move on as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm going to suggest that the board put this on not for public hearing at one of the December meetings when the new submission comes in, because we will have to conduct the seeker review.
To workshop it.
Yes.
So would you like to be on the December 21st meeting or the December 7th?
21st.
Okay, that gives you more time for your plans. So we'll earmark this for workshop on the 21st, and may I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing to January 4th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Terums, and don't leave, because
Next up.
the next public hearing, the new one, is for Mintzer Veterinary Clinic. And
That one I brought.
the applicants are seeking site plan approval for a new veterinary office, medical clinic, to go at 4938 Albany Post Road. This would be at the intersection of South Cross and Route 9. Formerly Milligan's Landscaping. The structure has already been removed. And we workshopped this at the last meeting, and we also had a memorandum afterwards from Ms. Axelson that we'll need comments for, but I think they were mostly pretty small. We did receive comments today from Dutchess County Planning. They said it's a matter of local concern, and they were primarily concerned with lighting and landscaping, which we brought up those same issues. So I assume that as we move forward and you make responses to the Morse Associates memo that contains all of our comments as well, that'll take care of DC Planning, I think, too.
Hold on, we have one more member that we.
Aha, that's right. Come on up. That's why we had the extra chair. That's why we had the extra chair. Mr. Pickett is our alternate tonight on this application. I forgot, my apologies.
No, it's okay.
Just slide yours over, Victoria.
Yes, for the record again,
Musical chairs.
Mr. Groninger, who's not here, present, has been recused from this application, and so we have two stalwart standbys, and Mr. Pickett's been appointed for the review throughout the duration of this application. So is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Terums, about this application?
No.
Told you to stay.
We have received conceptual approval from the health department now on the septic system. You'll see Amity Construction, Mr. Lombardi will be starting that. I think he started bringing some gravel in this week. So we got the okay to move forward with that. They just wanted a couple of notes added to the plans, and then we should have health department approval in a week or so.
Did my letter help, I hope?
Yes,
Good.
they were happy to get it.
It was
Thank
vetted
you.
by Ms. Polidoro before it went out, I assure you. So, at any rate, to summarize for those who didn't hear last time, we had looked the original drawings. Here's Dr. Mintzer. The original drawings showed steps, which there aren't steps, because that would have necessitated a ramp for the ADA. There were some issues about colors, materials to be submitted, more landscaping added, et cetera. It was all pretty minor. So let me start over to the left. Mr. Sotero, any comments?
No, once again, you're going to, respond to our comments, but, I mean, if there's stuff that you want me, to look at on an informal basis before you finalize and submit, just give me a call. You can stop in the office and, we'll go over some things so we can save a little time.
Okay, thank you. I noted that Liz had a.
Barry also, I mean, we could do the same thing, so I was going to mention that.
Okay, yeah, Liz had a long list on that one, so, and I've read through it a couple times, so if I get any questions as I go through it,
Yeah.
best
I
we
went
sit
through
down.
it. I went through it also. I mean, we just want to cover everything once and then, but if you got stuff you're not sure, you want to like review, like informally, just, come on over.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, Ms. Eccleston's comments also reflect Mr. Sotero's inside there, and I know it's 3 pages, but that's because there's a lot of explanation about why something should be yes instead of no. So it made for a lengthy memo, but she doesn't just say, check this way instead. She wanted to have an explanation. So, Ms. Polidoro, any comments?
No new comments.
Ms. Kane?
No comments at this time.
Mr. Pickett?
Couple questions. I don't understand why the county wants to shrink the size of the entrance.
You're asking me?
To me, I don't recommend it.
I can't answer
Because
that.
if you have one car exiting, another trying to turn in,
Yeah,
you're going to create a roadblock potentially going both ways. So to me, it
I can't answer
would
that.
be larger.
DOT generally likes to see entrances neck down slightly. They would only want it to go down to 26 feet from 30. So that's why it's really a matter of local concern for us, because that seems pretty extreme to make you go through getting a DOT permit just to reduce by 4 feet, just in my opinion.
Yeah,
Okay.
Any other questions?
The trees along the street, are they high enough so that people exiting and entering can see both ways, being that you're going 55 miles an hour?
we had added landscaping to the plan along the front. We'll check where the car will stop and where the row of trees are, and we'll take
Okay,
that
that's
consideration
fine.
while we move it.
Just- Or,
No.
or setback or something, just.
Yeah, I think-
Pull up to go either way.
I believe the trees are set back far enough from where you would be pulling out. You would be seeing pulling past them, but I'll double check on that.
They should be. We're not planting the trees in DOT right of way. It's on their parcels, so that should be full clearance as they drive.
So they don't
And-
have to buy monster trees.
Yeah, I just have to point out, I did walk the site myself the other day, and we're going to need to make, I don't know how to say this properly, you can't do test pits for trees, but it's a lot of rock.
We have test pitted the whole front half of that. We've thoroughly tested for the health department, so we know the front half has soil, the back half is
Has nothing.
rock.
Has nothing.
Right.
And I did find the large boulders that Ms. Dexter referred to. They're just outside that little split rail fence line on the corner. They're pretty low, so I'm not sure what she was worried about, but I know you said you were going to have an excavator in there.
That stone was put there because people probably, if that's
Were
not
speeding
there,
by?
people were
And taking a
cutting
right.
Turn,
Yeah.
there's no highway cut, there's no road.
You know what might be better than moving it, just my opinion, is everything's mowed up around it so people can't see it now. So if they tried to cut, they'd have an accident banging onto if you just could keep it cleaned out around the side there.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty big boulder, she was right.
Yeah.
But it's not real tall.
Right.
So, because I wanted to see what that looked like. Thank you, Mr. Pickett. Anything else?
No, but I noticed on your map, the location of the trees is set back from entrance and exit, so I also like your design better for the parking lot. Instead of a split version, just cars in back and along the side, I like that better.
Agreed. Mr. Murphy? Mr. Oliver?
Looking forward to the use in the old site. Thank you.
Ms. DiNapoli?
Just one quick question. The second story, is that only attainable from the inside, or is it also?
Only from
attainable-
the inside.
So it's only an internal staircase? Only an internal staircase?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we're not a very talkative board tonight. No, you heard positive comments at the first thing, and since we don't have any new information, I do want to remind Mr. Tierms that we're waiting to get a measurement of the second floor to make sure we're within scale. I know you said that because of the gambrel roof that it was smaller, but I don't think we received that yet.
Thought I did that last time. But yeah, I have checked it, and we are within scale. Yeah, I gave it last time, but I do have a copy of that here.
Number, but with nothing, no backup on the plan.
Right, it needs to be
Okay.
shown that
Yeah,
way on the
that's
plan,
what
that's
the
all.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you're aware that that needs to be labeled, how it's calculated on the actual plans themselves. So, would any member of the public like to speak about this application tonight? No. So, Mr. Chairman, when would you like us to adjourn this public hearing to, the 7th or the 21st of December, to give you time to respond to Morse Associates and revise the plans?
I will not be here the 7th.
So the 21st looks better for you?
That works better for me.
I anticipate that at that meeting, we could consider closing and considering approval, because we are not hearing public comment, assuming you can address all the,
That'll give me
Issues that-
time that any issues I have, I can meet with Pete and then make sure we're on the same page before we submit those plans.
To what date?
well, we're going to adjourn to the 21st.
Okay.
21st December.
So that would give you 5 weeks to work things through. Remember also, if you need me there, I'm happy to meet with Pete too. I know the board doesn't like to approve with a lot of conditions. We prefer to approve cleanly as possible so you can get your building permit going.
Right.
So I strongly encourage you to meet with Mr. Sotero sometime through there, and if you need me at any time, like I said, we can meet here at Town Hall or at Pete's office, either one. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to work with you guys. Making a motion to adjourn this to December 21st.
So for, so moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Before I go on, for Berry Bed and Breakfast, can I get a motion, if I remove the last
That's me too.
comments about the need for the cubic feet, maximum cubic feet, may I get a motion to authorize me to send the letter recommending that the ZBA grant variances for the bed and breakfast?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, sorry, that was another project. We'll see you back on the 21st then. Thank you very much.
Nope, thank you.
The last item on the agenda is emergency 1. The applicants, if they're here, yes? Great. The applicants are seeking site plan approval to demolish most of what we know as Pete's Famous, formerly Pete's Famous Diner, and become an emergency medical walk-in clinic. This is located at 4200 Albany Post Road. This is the first time that the board is seeing the application publicly, the first time the public is as well, but there's no public hearing tonight. This is strictly workshop. So, gentlemen, I'll turn it over to you. Could you please state your names for the record?
My name is Michael Lockwood. I'm an architect, and I'm actually tonight standing in for William Bernier, who's he has a family situation he needs to handle.
We wish him luck, by the way. I heard about what that was, so
And this is Jim Devitt from Emergency One.
thank you. Microphone's yours.
Okay. Well, I guess since we received the comments, we have not been able to make the revisions for tonight, but we are in
Okay.
accepting, most of your comments, they seem very, like good comments, and we're more than happy to move forward with getting those revisions done. We could also, upon those revisions being complete, we could submit informally within a couple weeks for review to make sure we're ready for the next meeting.
Sure.
So-
Since this is your first time to appear before this board, we're pretty friendly, and we will do offline meetings, they're called, so long as there's not a quorum present, so long as there's 3 of us or less with consultants.
Right.
We meet. For the record, no decisions are made, because that would be illegal, but it can help guideline and speed through the process. So if you'd like, since we're being televised, are you showing this right now from that camera? I'd like to move the... Yeah, can we move this easel over so it can be seen? We're on television.
Okay.
Live television. Every one of these meetings. So I'll let you go ahead and walk through just the beginning of what you're proposing, and the board may have questions. In the meantime, Mr. Lockwood was referring to a letter or an email that I sent. We met with Mr. Martin, who's the vice president, I believe, Emergency One, and Mr. Bernier wasn't there. I think we overwhelmed Mr. Martin. So I said, I'll type these comments up and get them to you. They were also shared with the board. They're available for the public. They're on the record. There were really more technical things that needed to be shown on the map, and also some clarification. right there, the entrance is shown, I believe, is 16 feet.
Correct.
On the prior approval of Pete's Famous, it's shown at 25, and so one of the questions was resolve that, because if you are going to neck that down again to go to 16 feet, you'd need a DOT permit. I didn't think you wanted that.
Right.
So,
That's correct. I think the plan, yeah.
you know what? Hold on. We'll get you up.
Yep.
There you go.
Great, thank you. Yeah, the plan here was, to go back to the 25-foot right-of-way into the lot, and also, per your comments, to move all the parking on this side of the building to the rear and make the handicapped spots the first spots along the back
That would
here.
be the Americans with Disabilities Act parking, commonly called handicap parking.
That's
because it
correct.
needs to be nearest the door as well. Right.
We will be showing the drainage plan, the drainage per your comments also from the existing Pete's Famous approved site plan. We will entertain the landscaping plan to put landscaping around the sign and also along this side here where the parking is currently shown.
You don't have to address my points, by the way,
Okay.
because I know you'll be addressing those.
Yes.
Do you have elevations you can show?
No, actually, we don't
Oh.
tonight, unfortunately. We will be, we will submit them.
Yeah, I
And-
thought that was already supplied. for
Yeah,
you
we
guys.
submitted some.
No,
but-
I mean, for the public. I think people will be excited to see this.
Okay, yeah, but we have not made the change yet. I know you wanted to look at signage moved from the front of the building to the side due to the sight line.
Right. So one of the comments, if you want to put this up, you can use my copy.
Sure.
Was the applicant, the business is allowed 2 wall signs as well as 1 freestanding. And right now, the wall signs were proposed to be facing north and facing west. And since you have a freestanding sign and you wouldn't see the west side unless you're looking at it perpendicular, it was just a suggestion that you consider moving that to the south side because it's a big billboard since there's the pond by the antique store in front of it, and you'd have a very clear image of Emergency One there. So, but if I can make note, it's got stone fascia at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You can see what the windows look like. There's a peaked roof. This would be hardy board, I believe.
That's correct.
So, and where the doors used to be both facing east and north, and now they would just face east. So parking is to the rear of the building lot line, and they're basically using the original footprint of the building itself. Another thing to note is that the septic at this site is located to the front of the building.
No, to the back now.
It is to the back.
Yeah, there's an updated plan. In fact, I believe that we designed it years and years ago, for Pete. So he's got a fairly substantial septic system under the parking lot in the back.
Yeah, I was actually just
Neat.
told by William Bernier that it was in the front and the back, that the front was still operational as well.
I think you
And-
need to get a copy of the approved, septic plan. And one of my comments was, I don't remember, but I think your building expansion might be over the septic tank, and I don't remember if there's an exterior grease trap or not. But you'll have to go look at that. You should get the approved, plans for the septic system.
It's funny you should say that because I thought that they had moved the septic to the back, but then we were told by the architect, your partner or boss, that it was in the front. And I do remember seeing the front pumped out, so does Mr. Murphy.
They may, and again, I don't remember, but I can tell you that for sure, there's a huge septic system in
That's what I thought.
concrete
Yeah.
galleys under that back parking lot. Now, maybe the front is still being used as like a, like auxiliary. I don't remember.
Okay, we'll have to
I
get that
thought
resolved.
the front, was cut off because it was just so, inadequate.
It doesn't look like there's room for the 100% expansion in the front. That's why I didn't understand how they could
I
get
mean,
an
this
approval
whole-
for
This
it.
whole thing's been, this whole property's been, it was a problem from day one with the county health department, but now it's got a fairly substantially sized, septic system, which I think we would need to look into it, Mike, like a little bit, but, it was approved for a restaurant, so one would think that the flow from a restaurant is going to be significantly more than what's going to be from emergency one.
Correct.
But we should just look at it to make sure. I'm sure it's going to be fine, but,
Yes, the restaurant would have a much higher water
yeah,
usage
I mean,
than,
I'm sure it's.
you're going to have
fine.
restrooms and maybe washing some instruments, I guess, or something. That's about it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we looked at that same thing, and the usage is much less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing, I am open to comments on the elevations, because these were very preliminary, and so any comments you have to make the elevations more like Hyde Park, I'm open to listen. And
You'll hear me have each person speak, and they'll have the opportunity to do that. Are you done mostly, that means?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let me get started over. Pete, additional comment?
Just a couple. The one thing that I want you guys to look at, and I think it's on the plans for the septic system for Pete's, there's a fairly good-sized pipe that runs through where you've got that labeled on the site plan, existing gravel parking area. There's a fairly substantially sized pipe that goes through that gravel area that actually goes under the building, and it outlets to the pond in the antique center. And I bring that up because when you're doing your footings, we're going to have to be careful, because back in 2010 we had Hurricane Irene. When I was going around town looking at all the problem areas, Pete had a really substantial problem there, where there was so much flow coming through that pipe that it actually separated the pipe, and he almost lost the foundation wall of the building. So there is a pipe that goes right underneath, the building.
Right.
So you're gonna have to investigate that and just.
Yeah, actually,
plan for it.
William Bernier brought that up to me, before the meeting, about that pipe going to that detention pond. So I'm definitely going to show that on the next submission, and we'll investigate that.
Ms. Moss and I, when we met Mr. Bernier walking the site, we showed him where it daylights, because it's actually, it daylights in the ground embankment before the pond.
Okay.
There'd been some erosion in the soil around there, so you'll be able to see it pretty clearly. There's another pipe that also feeds that same pond that comes in from another location. So it's from the shopping center that goes over there. So you'll ultimately I didn't realize that the foundation wall had almost collapsed. So that's something
Yeah,
that's
it's pretty bad.
okay. We'll need to look into.
Again, that was during now we had a lot of water in a short period of time, so there was a lot of problems, but I'm just, bringing it up that when you're doing your foundation design, and it may not be a bad idea to put like a camera, through that pipe, just to make sure that it's in good, condition. Maybe it needs, to be slip lined for some additional, strength. You should just go check it out. I mean, you're gonna put, a lot of money in the building.
Absolutely, yeah, certainly. Thank you.
And then the only other thing that I had, are there cross easements through the property to the north there, for access, Herzing?
I'm not sure at the moment. I'd have to
I
look
believe
into
so, but that's one of the comments I made, was that all easements need to be shown and
Oh,
labeled.
Okay.
Yeah, it was set up, Pete, originally.
I mean, it's always been like that.
Yeah, no, we set it up, I was on board, we
Yeah.
did it. We set it up with common parking and
Yeah.
so.
I mean, it makes sense, yeah, sure, it's just, if there isn't one, maybe it should be cleaned up, but I'll leave that to attorney.
No, I agree, though, that's something that we always try to clean up as part of this process. So, anything else?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Polidoro?
Well, that rolls right into my comments. There's 2 lots that are the subject of this. Are they proposed to be subdivided and merged together?
The initial plan is that everything's going to be merged together.
Okay. It's 3 lots. 3?
Yes, there are
There's
3.
3 parcels or.
But
There's-
not including Herzing.
No, there's 3, not including Herzing.
3, okay. So 3 lots.
There's that big sort of empty space behind.
Right.
Then there's 2 that cover the building and the entrance and the parking in the rear that leads to the easement. So,
So that's good, because your calculations seem to combine all 3 lots.
Right,
And if
right.
not, we'd have to do them separately and
No,
get
no.
variances.
The idea was to merge it all, yeah.
So, yeah, I know the lot lines are hard to see. So we be submitting a subdivision application to combine the lots?
Would that need to be done?
We should talk to Tad Moss, the zoning administrator,
Could be just a lot line.
lot line alteration.
we normally do that through subdivision. It's a minor lot, minor subdivision. But is there another way to do that?
In some communities, if lots were created by deed and not subdivided, they go to just the county and file a merger deed, but in Hyde Park, we require subdivision.
That's what I thought, okay. So you may want to amend your application if you're going to merge even 2 of the lots.
Right.
From talking to Mr. Martin, he thought they might have a different use for the big one that's behind the Flores. It's the big empty lot.
Yeah.
He might, in other words, he said we might want to combine 2 and keep the third separate. I don't know.
It's possible. I think it really depends on how all this kind of falls out, too. What the
Okay.
best, most expeditious way to do it is.
So just keep in mind, if you're not combining lots,
Mhm.
then we'll need separate regulations for each lot, separate
Okay.
tables, and also we'll have to have cross easements between the
Between the
lots.
Yeah. And that exists now, I believe, right?
This
Well,
is-
it exists with Herzing, we believe. I don't know if it exists from Sarukas to Sarukas, because he owns, because those lots could be sold separately.
Gotcha.
So that's one thing that we would like.
You would be
information.
granting an easement to your, cross easement to yourself.
Right, right.
It's a matter of filing the proper form and having it filed, that's all, correct?
Mhm.
And we have copies of forms you prefer for easements, I believe?
Yeah, I can give him ones we've approved in the past.
That's what I thought, okay. So if that's an issue, don't worry, we can help you along with
Yeah,
that.
great.
Anything else, Ms. Polidoro?
Not at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Napoli?
The design of the building, just some very basic questions. I know you said it was hardy board. The roof are they architectural tile? The colors? You're not that far along.
Yeah, and again, like Mike said, we're willing to work with you on that to
Is this a single story or 2 stories?
single story.
We assume mechanicals are in the attic, so to speak, or?
We haven't even gotten that far.
Well,
Oh.
yeah,
Which is fine.
There will.
sure.
Yeah, there's plenty of room up there.
Only because it looked rather expansive, the roof line, so I was just trying to figure that out.
And let me also say, too, that we're going to kind of retain the look and feel that we have currently
I could tell.
at our location into this location. So you're not going to see much of a variance on that. So you kind of already have a picture of what it'll look like.
Got it. It's a very attractive building.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Oliver?
I think it's, great that you're trying to redevelop a site and keeping the character of the, your building. I think it's great. And look forward to seeing what else you guys are going to do as you get farther into the design of the building.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Murphy?
Ditto to that, anything we can do to help you along, and hope we can get you in your time frame, and we'll work with you as best we can.
Thank you.
Ms. Kane?
I really like the design very much, and I look forward to the project. I think it's going to be a great thing for Hyde Park. I do have 2 questions, and first I have to apologize, I didn't bring my scale ruler. How long is the building?
100 feet?
It's 100 feet, okay. And the only other question I have is about the window design, because on the north and west elevation, you have one design, and then on the south and east, you have a different design.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering why.
Well, the archtop windows, I think, was more of for the street appeal, kind of, and I didn't know, the other elevation, which we were kind of downplaying, we're now finding it's more of an exposed.
It's very
Yeah.
exposed.
So, yeah, it's very exposed, so that has to be redesigned to probably incorporate more of the same look as the other two sides.
You need to use the microphone.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, the back of the building was the reception area, the parking lot side, which there's a lot of seating, and we kind of kept the windows high in that area.
Okay.
But the other three sides will, copy the character of these two sides exposed.
Okay, yeah, I like the arched windows very much.
Great.
Yeah.
Really, the whole design is great.
That sort of Palladian style window we don't see much here, actually, and it is attractive. It kind of sets it apart from other buildings that look similar to this.
Right, right.
So I don't have, I sent you all my comments. One I forgot to add, but Ms. Axelson pointed out and sent to you was that you used an old EAF. There's a new form.
Oh.
And we have to have the new form because the old one hasn't been used now for a while.
Sure, okay.
You'll probably have most of the same answers, but it's formatted a little differently, the new environmental assessment form.
Sure, any-
And otherwise, you'll just need to respond to my comments, anything that you heard here. Ms. DiNapoli mentioned colors, but the board requires that you submit material, like a little storyboard material, sent with colors, et cetera. And when you say you're looking to work with us, we don't choose your colors, because we all have different tastes up here. But I can tell you that the board, if I may say this politely, doesn't like beige anymore. It used to, but now it likes colors. So just think about what color you would like it.
Okay.
We wound up having a rash of beige and white buildings, and it seemed to rob some of the character of the community out of that. So
Sure.
at any rate, so we've finally been seeing dark grays, browns, and blues again now. So Malloy Pharmacy is a nice kind of reference point. It's not Malloy anymore now. It's CVS.
Yes.
Sorry, CVS. The blues, not to copy exactly because you don't want it
Right.
to
The
be mimetic.
Children's Medical Group building is also really nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but you're the client, so it's up to you to make those decisions.
Sure.
Otherwise, like I said, they're all minor, not all minor, but mostly minor comments. And if you have any questions, we're happy to meet in advance, because I tried to make them as explanatory as possible.
Yeah.
But I know when I was saying expand the table,
Right.
if you're sitting there, I can show you how to do it. And we gave examples also from another approved project, so you can see how to do it. But Mr. Martin took pictures, but if the picture didn't paint 1,000 words, then let me know. Okay?
All right. Yeah, I mean, I saw, the comments seemed very straightforward. I understood, so.
I, along with my colleagues, many of us have been doing this for 10 years, so we try to be as efficient as possible here. Anyway, there being no other comments, I think what we'll do is we'll wait to get an application from you, and as soon as we do, we'll put you on the next agenda.
Great.
And if it's complete, all the details have been worked out, then we can go ahead and type the action, circulate, and get you going.
Great, sounds good.
Public hearing after that. And I know we haven't worked with your office before, so we look forward to doing so.
Great, thank you very much.
And last, it's a pleasure to see the business stay in Hyde Park and expand.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. And what kind of process time-wise is the application in that?
Always a hard thing for me to answer and something that everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
So the easiest response is that the more complete the application is, the quicker it takes. And that's the only way I can sort of explain it to you, because one of the things I said to Mr. Lockwood tonight is, because you're on a state highway, like most of our businesses, we're required under state law to do a referral to county planning.
Right.
If they say that it's not complete, it gets kicked back. They have 30 days in which to respond.
Right.
If it's incomplete, whenever we send it again, they have another 30 days to respond. So the fastest way through is to make sure that everything's complete. And again, once you've revised and done what you want to do, if you want to set up a meeting with Tad, me, Mr. Sotero, any of us,
Okay.
just call Ms. Palestina Whitman, our secretary, and we'll schedule a little meeting, and I can try to get a couple of other planning board members, and we'll go through and make sure that everything is, Ts are crossed and Is are dotted.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
After that, it's usually, once we type the action, we set a public hearing, we refer to other agencies for SEEKR, State Environmental Quality Review Act, and all the agencies have 30 days to respond, and then we held a public hearing. Usually, we try to set the public hearing 30 days after we circulate, so that we have time to receive responses before the public hearing. And then anything longer after that depends on what public comment is. Like Mavis, we've had a lot of public comment initially on it, so they've made lots of project revisions. I don't anticipate a lot on this, but there could be. So what I'd like to tell you is we can get you in and out within 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, and that's really what we're hoping for, because if not, it could kill the project. We're willing to, really no variances and whatnot, so we're really trying to work with you guys on this. Exactly how you want to see it is how we're going to present it to you.
Variances aren't something, believe me, that we control. That's just.
No,
within
no,
the
I
code.
understand, and I'm
Yeah.
not blaming you guys. I'm just saying, we're really trying to work within your guidelines, so that way we can make it clean right from the get-go.
I know from I don't know if your current landlords, since they're not here tonight, for Mavis, if they know that you're moving, but I do know from Mr. Martin that you have a lease that terminates.
Exactly.
So, and you're trying to get in and have this built by, I think, June. So,
Yeah, open in July.
Yeah,
correct.
we'd certainly like to help you. Some of that will depend on building weather as well.
Yes.
But
of
I don't
course.
anticipate, I don't see a lot of road bumps ahead. How does that
No,
sound?
no, no. Okay, excellent. Well, appreciate the help.
What is the process to file for an exemption on photometrics due to the existing parking lot lighting that's there?
You would write a letter basically asking for a waiver of that requirement.
Mhm.
And any other requirements that you want a waiver for, you have to provide some sort of explanation. And the explanation could be that the photometric plan is, the lighting is not changing in the parking area.
Mhm.
And you can refer to the prior photometric plan and then the approved site plan for Pete's.
Okay.
That's what I would suggest.
Lights.
Great.
Pardon me?
How high are the lights now?
This was approved under the new code, so they would be at code height. Because I signed the site plan. This was Ms. Dexter's and I when we were appointed. This is our brand-new plan. This is
I
our
don't
first
think there are a
one.
lot of lights back there.
There's only 4, and if I had to guess.
And as I said,
probably
your,
15, 16 feet.
any lighting you put in the building should be shown on the elevation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give us a tear sheet and just indicate what wattage you're looking for, I don't think you're going to be lighting this up very brightly, are you?
No.
Yeah.
Good-sized parcel, probably not a lot of trespass.
And you're not changing any of the lighting in the back. That's your freestanding lighting. That's
Mm-hmm.
the one that's usually the most worrisome for us.
Yeah,
So,
that's going to remain as
Yeah.
is. so.
That's what you would say.
Mhm. Okay, great.
Any other questions?
No?
Then we'll wait to hear back from you. And like I said, as soon as you can submit, please do.
Absolutely.
But set up a meeting if you want to go through everything first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
We will.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This isn't on the agenda. I'm just going to add this very quickly before we adjourn. Did everyone get a chance to read the revised rural events law? It didn't change much. No.
Right.
Can I get a motion to?
So moved.
To send in that letter, yes, recommending they pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.